Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Today I have for you an unbelievably simple card that is a great way to showcase designer series paper. Don't we all have stacks of designer series paper laying around, this beautiful printed paper that we hate to chop up, right? I'm very guilty of that. I'm a hoarder. But this is a great way to showcase both sides of the paper because this card is a little bit different from your regular card in that we don't glue the designer series paper to the whole front of the card. The designer series paper is the front of the card, so you see both sides of this beautiful paper. This technique does not require much supplies at all, so craft along with me and I'll show you how easy it is to make. So the first thing you are going to need is a piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 7 inches. So very different right off the bat from your regular card where you've got half a sheet of cardstock involved. So 4 1/4 by 7. You need your scoring tool for just a minute because all we're going to do is make one score line at 1 1/2 inches. Doesn't matter from which end as long as it's 1 1/2 inches. And just like that, we have created the base and part of the front of our card. Next, we want to work on the inside of the card, and I'll show you why it's important to work on the inside piece next. So we're going to do a little stamping. This is an insert that measures 5 1/4 by 4, just basic white. Used to be whisper white, now it's basic white. So for this, what I'm going to do is use 2 different stamp sets. I'm going to use some floral images from the hand pen petal set, and then my sentiments are coming from the garden birdhouses set. Now, if you don't currently have a demonstrator you are working with and you would like to see a paper copy of the catalog in your hands, you can reach out to me through the comments on this video or over at Facebook at The Faithful Stamper, and let me know you'd like a catalog and I'd be happy to send you with. And if you're an online shopper, you can check out my website right there. So to start, I'm going to take my floral image. I'm using my Stampin' Pierce mat because this is clear photopolymer stamps and they don't have a built-in cushion like the red rubber cling stamps do. So I need something to give me a better impression, and the Stampin' Pierce mat, which is a thick piece of foam, is perfect for that. So I'm going to take this large floral image and basically I'm just creating a watermark. Since it's a pale color ink, this is pale papaya that matches my cardstock. This is the perfect background image. And I am simply going to pair that with some soft succulent ink, and I'm going to stamp my greeting right over top of that because the difference in the colors really helps them show through. Now, one quick thing before I put my stamps away, I have a scrap of basic white, and I'm going to stamp the other greeting that I'm going to use for the front of the card. And just a reminder, if you're not really familiar with stamping, light touches with stamps and ink is all you need. I don't know if you caught before, but I'm just tap, tap, tapping. And the clear photopolymer, I can see right through the block and see that I've got enough ink, but if I didn't have enough ink, I could simply re-ink it, tap, tap, tap again, and then stamp. And don't smush your stamp in the ink pad or down on your paper because you'll end up with ink in places you don't want ink, all over your fingers, your paper, and everything else. So just be mindful of that. And then, one more bit of stamping here. I have my envelope because I always like to give my envelopes a little pizzazz. So I'm going to take the same floral image that I used on the inside of the card and stamp the corner of my envelope using a little scrap paper since I'm stamping off the page. And now I'm ready to assemble my card, and I can show you why it's important to work on the inside of the card. What we're going to do is glue the insert to the inside of the card, leaving a narrow border around. So this is just like you would do with any regular card. But placement is the key here because you want to get this as straight as possible and hopefully centered, because to assemble the front of the card, we are going to take a piece of designer series paper, same size, 5 1/4 by 4, and we are going to just lay it right over the top. So I'm going to match up all my corners, and then once I have it lined up, I'm just going to hold it in place, take my adhesive, and I'm going to run a line or two of my adhesive across the top of my designer series paper. I don't want to get too carried away and take it down too far, because then it would be above the cardstock. And I also don't want to put the adhesive on the flap, because then it would hang over the sides and then the card wouldn't open right. So keeping your adhesive on your designer series paper is the way to go. And then all you have to do is fold it over and give it a good press. And my designer series paper is perfectly lined up with the rest of the inside of my card. So that's why I recommend working on the inside first and then just layering that DSP right on top. I'm going to give this a little press with my bone folder to help it stay shut. Now, if you are not a fan of any gap that you might have here from your adhesive, simply take some liquid glue and put a thin line down in between there and hold it, and that'll take care of that for you. Now, to decorate the front of the card, the first thing I'm going to do is take some ribbon. This is our soft succulent sheer open weave ribbon. The soft succulent and the pale papaya are two of our current in colors. And let's see, I'm just going to trim this so there's a little bit of overlap. I'm not doing a bow for this. I'm going to cover it up with my sentiment on the front of the card. So the first thing I'm going to do to help my ribbon stay where I want it is put a glue dot on the back of one end. And then I'm going to put the ribbon in the middle where I want it to be. And the only thing you have to be careful with here is make sure your ribbon is flat. And that way you don't have an unpleasant surprise when you open the card. I'm actually going to show you a sample that I realize I have to go back and fix. And then I'm going to take a glue dot from my roll and put it on the other end of my ribbon. And this way, once I've double checked that everything is laying flat, this helps my ribbon ends stay together. Now, I am going to take my double oval punch. First up, I'm going to take a piece of pale papaya and punch one of our scalloped ovals. And then once that's done, I have that sentiment, that birthday wishes I stamped a little earlier. And I do need to trim off the bottom just a little bit. And that's better. Punch that out. I'm going to save this one for another occasion. I'm going to layer these two together with a little more adhesive. And now to attach this to the front of my card, I'm going to use mini dimensionals. Typically, I like the large ones. However, if I were to position two of the large dimensionals on the back of this sentiment, they'd be stuck to the card in the same place as the ribbon. So sometimes they pull the ribbon off. It doesn't stick well. So I like the mini dimensionals for this. And I'm just going to use 4, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. Peel the backing off. And that way my ribbon is in between the sets of dimensionals. So it's going to stick to the card front and also keep that ribbon where I want it. And by positioning the sentiment there, I've covered the overlap for the ends of the ribbon. Now, just for one finishing touch, I'm going to add a couple of genial gems. and then my card will be finished. And so just like that, quick, simple, and easy, I have a beautiful card featuring 2 sides of designer series paper. Now you can experiment with your card fronts. I wanted to show you 2 different ones that I made. For this one, I opted for pearls that I colored with my Pale Papaya Stampin' Blend. That's the great thing about our Stampin' Blends is you can color clear rhinestones and our pearls with your Stampin' Blends and get any color to match your cardstock. I love it. I also wanted to show you how I stamped differently on the inside. For this one, I did just as you saw me, stamp in the ink, stamp on the paper. I stamped off for this one, and it was a little bit lighter than I wanted, which is why I opted to go with this. But I wanted to show you that if you're using a darker color, you can stamp off first, so it does kind of create that watermark effect. Now, I also have a couple other samples to show you. This one was the first card I made, and it is slightly different in that the flap on the front is a bit narrower. I started out measuring my cardstock at 4 1/4 by 6 1/2 and then scored at 1 inch, and it gave me a smaller flap, but I kind of didn't like it. I wanted it to be a little bit wider, which is why I opted for the 4 1/4 by 7 with the 1 1/2 inch score line. But you can do either. For this one, I did the same ribbon trick, but I covered it up with a bow. I did go ahead and add my sentiment here, and then I stamped the inside, so I have a really cute Halloween card. I love being able to showcase so much of this designer series paper. Next, I have a Christmas card to show you with my cute envelope, of course. You don't have to have a sentiment on the front. If you want to, you can just add ribbon. I have this little sparkly gold ribbon, which I thought really went together with this designer series paper, but here's where I goof. I was doing my Facebook Live and I realized I've got a ribbon twist here, so I need to go back and fix that. So that's why it's important to keep your ribbon laying flat and really get that together. So don't do what I did. Now, I showed you how to make this card with the fold at the top, but you're not tied into this. I am all about giving options with cards. So you can take the same directions and create a card that opens from the side. All you have to do is adjust your stamping on the inside to go the right direction, and then make sure your designer series paper print is the correct orientation as well. And one final card I wanted to show you. For this, I really largely kept it this design, but you can also create the same card style with the fold on the long side of your card. And so I have the measurements for this as well. It's the same concept. You're just cutting your cardstock at 5 1/2 by 5 1/4, and then you're scoring at 4 1/4 on the 5 1/4 inch side. So that leaves you with a 1 inch fold in the front, but the concept is the same. And you could, if you wanted, turn this one on its side and have it be the horizontal orientation in this layout as well. So super simple. Really, that's 4 options for a super quick and easy card that showcases both sides of your designer series paper. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make some quick and easy cards with your beautiful printed paper. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just click the subscribe button and then turn on your notifications, and you'll be notified every time I post a new video. And if you are a fan of Facebook, you can hop over to The Faithful Stamper and follow me there, and I do Facebook Live videos twice a week, and you'll see some other projects that I post there as well. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and happy crafting.